Ronan Hanafin was supposed to catch touchdowns for Clemson, and now he's catching fire on the defensive side of the ball. No one's talking about it, but we will right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over at 105.5 and 97.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode Monday through Friday. All things Clemson, exclusive content right here for you, provided by me on Locked On Clemson. So, and also don't forget to follow me over on X in between episodes so you can stay up to date on all the things we talk about while you wait on the next podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Coming up on today's show, wanted to talk about the underrated defender that might just be a future star and a few big-time storylines that are proof Clemson is ready and building something dangerous for the fall. So let's get to it. Ronan Hanafin was supposed to catch touchdowns for Clemson, but now he's catching eyes on defense. He's one of the most underrated stars, I think, going into this season because nobody's really talking about him. I think he could be a very important developmental player for Clemson and one of the most important guys that really could kind of help out when you least expect it. And I have a few reasons that really have nothing to do with stats because, to be honest with you, he doesn't have a lot of stats. And I know what you're thinking. But Hanafin came to Clemson. He was a four-star athlete. He was a wide receiver, 6'3", 215, big frame, big upside, played 41 snaps last season. No catches, no buzz on the offense, in his first season, And then just 1 week before the season kicked off, last season kicked off, Dabo flipped him over to defense. And with no spring prep, no summer prep, very limited fall prep, no warning really, moved him over trial by fire on the defensive side of the ball. And he embraced it. By the end of the season, he had 89 defensive snaps, 13 tackles, for tackles, and then one pass breakup and a quarterback pressure. So, and on special teams, Dabo said that he was one of the MVPs that he felt like from last season. And that's the kind of guy that is exactly what you're looking for at Clemson, right? I mean, he's kind of what Clemson is known for. Fans across Oconee, Anderson, Pickens, Greenville, you all understand Clemson always has like one or two guys that wasn't really highly recruited, even though Hanafin was, but just kind of forgotten, right? Wasn't a guy really had a lot of high expectations, but kind of rises to the occasion under the radar. I feel like Ronan Hanafin is exactly that type of guy that can do it now here in year 3. He's valuable enough to not be redshirted. Right. When they needed him the most, he filled in on the offensive side of the ball. They tried to give him that opportunity there. Then he moved over to special teams and really kind of filled in any gap that he could there without complaining at all. And then, as I mentioned, very last minute, moved over to defense, still no complaining, going right into it, getting his hands dirty and learning new positions one after the other. He's physical, he's imposing, he's fearless. And when we talked to him after practice recently, he's getting better. He's obsessed with trying to improve his game. And that's the type of player I think, the guys like Brent Venables in the past really love having around. And I think Tom Allen will be able to use as well because, is he going to be your superstar centerpiece? No, but he's definitely one of those guys that you can interject into your defense when you need it the most, when somebody needs a break. Kind of can be a glue guy or maybe even a Swiss Army knife type guy where you don't know where he's not the best cornerback. He's not the best safety, not the best linebacker, but you don't know where exactly you're going to put him, but he's talented enough and got that raw athletic ability to kind of, make some things happen. Just what I like to say is like a baller, like a scrappy, just a ball player, as they say. He's a feel-good story because, he's kind of building his way up under the radar. But, I feel like this guy wants to do more than just be a feel-good story, right? He feels as if he's continuing to develop himself. As they moved him with little notice, he got a ton of snaps. And, he has raw instincts. He has high football IQ. And Dabo said as well this offseason that he's just a ball player, and as I mentioned, I call him kind of scrappy, but just guys that you just can't keep off the field. They may not be the best at one position, but they can do something to help the team overall. Special teams helped out the team back-to-back years. They tried to redshirt him, but couldn't because he was valuable. He was up there with Jamal Anderson as a special teams MVP, according to Dabo Swinney. He's got hustle. He's got heart. He's fearless. He's going to take on new challenges. And those are the kind of traits that, when you get a guy on the field like that, in a tough situation, when the game is on the line, when you need somebody that you can trust, that's the kind of guy that kind of checks the boxes for me. Tom Allen also believes in him, not just as a player, but as a person. He recently mentioned that Allen gave him a Tony Dungy devotional and, really cares about his personal development outside of football and how he's holding Ronan accountable on the field and off the field. And Ronan came out and said, that really builds him up. And that's why he came to Clemson. That's what he loves about Clemson. And Tom Allen is obviously already fitting into that as well. Not every coach cares about you that way. Not every coach wants to, invest in you outside of football like Tom Allen does. And you got to love hearing that from these guys that aren't the superstars, right? If you were a coach, a lot of coaches may just focus on the best players on their team, but not so far with Tom Allen. And it's great to hear from Ronan Hanafin. Now, I know what you're saying. Sure, he's made some plays on special teams, but those aren't, big time game changer moments. He's just a depth guy. There's been a lot of guys that have come through that we've hyped up in the spring that just never do anything. But to me, Ronan Hanafin is in a great spot to work his way into the lineup. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be a starter, and I'm not going to say it's not going to be an uphill climb for him, but snap by snap, he can get better and better throughout the spring. And he's one of those guys, I didn't say earlier that I would circle as somebody to watch. But I'm going to say, because the coaches have kind of talked so high about him, I want to see him in the spring game. I want to see how he performs, what he can do, and how he can fit into the defense, because we all expected him to be on offense, and it's not just about growing for Clemson for sure. It's on the football field. It's about Ronan kind of being adaptable. He leaned in, he found a new identity on defense. And that kind of character is what you really want. So here's the takeaway for me. Ronan Hanafin, we know he's fast. We know he's physical. And we know now, based on what he's telling us, the dude is just absolutely locked in to whatever he can do to help the team. I mean, why wouldn't you want to champion somebody like that? Why wouldn't you want to cheer on a guy like that? So that's why I'm circling him down as another guy that I want to watch this weekend. Not just a name to watch, but maybe could be a name that could really help this team in 2025. When the game is on the line, October, November, December, those are the type of players, those are the type of character players that you want out there to be able to get you over the hump into the next level, right? It's not always about pure talent and 5-star ability, right? It's about those guys that are underappreciated that can get in there and just put in the freaking work, and just guys that are just talented. They may not be the best, right, at any one position, but they're just talented, and you can't keep them away from the football. That's what you want on a defensive side of the ball. That's what you want in any kind of player. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what Clemson can do with Ronan Hanafin, right? It's still a big question mark for me, but I think there's some good signs here, and that's why I got him circled for the spring. Follow me over on X at The Morgan T Show. We're going to talk more about it. We're going to dive into some spring ball storylines and prove why Clemson is ready for the 2025 season. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power you through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just keeping up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I have been using it on the go whenever I'm going to a game, whenever I'm traveling. You need that 5-Hour Energy to be something that's easy to grab and keeps you feeling refreshed. Head over to 5hourenergy.com. Find 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? You can grab a 5-Hour Energy shot over at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Clemson fans need to be fired up for this spring ball because guess what? It's football. Why do I have to fire you up for football? I don't think I have to, but I'm saying you need to. If you aren't, you better get ready because it's spot the ball time for Clemson football. We're back into it, and we're finally going to get to see a lot of these guys that we're hyping up, and that's what makes me jacked up and excited. There are a few things that Dabo Swinney mentioned. He recently went on to the ACC PM show with Mark Packer and Pac-Man, as you may know, but he gave us a couple of answers into some of the, well, maybe some answers into some of the big questions coming up this fall. Dabo gave you some. Cade Klubnik, he feels like he's growing up. Adam Randall's changing positions. Freshman, in the left tackle side, getting a lot of reps. Big time storylines where I feel like if Clemson, hits on a few of them, it'll be a big deal for postseason aspirations for the Tigers. Dabo Swinney appeared again on ACC PM with Mark Packer and gave us some insight on some injuries, on some different players that are playing. And while LSU, Georgia, Florida State, they're also getting headlines out there. I think Clemson, they're kind of under the radar too. As I mentioned, Ronan Hanafin's under the radar. Wouldn't you feel like Clemson as a whole is kind of under the radar? They're bringing back a ton of players. Dabo has added a ton of key additions on the roster and in the staff. And I think Clemson is definitely ahead of the schedule. Clemson fans should be extremely excited about Saturday because, there's definitely no excuses. I mean, Cade Klubnik should be ready. The defense has every tool they need and talent that they need. And there's a mystery. There's a little bit of mystery here and there throughout the roster and what could happen in 2025, but there's no question that there's potential on the field for sure. It's all over the field. Potential, talent, ability is definitely there. Can they put it all together? If they can, maybe even just a few of these big time things that he mentioned, I think Clemson could be back in the playoff hunt. He mentioned that Cade Klubnik has continued to grow up, and he has really said grown up. He said he's finally taking that last step to get to his ultimate playing ability at college. There's no new system, no more excuses. He doesn't have to figure out anything. He should be confident, and the continuity should help build him up to the next level. And really, it's now or never for Cade Klubnik, right? He needs to be able to show everyone what he can do. And to me, I said, he really doesn't have that marquee win as a quarterback. What's his one marquee win? You could say, and I know what you're going to tell me, you could say the ACC championship game. And that is true, but I'm talking about like a big time program, like, a top 15 type program that we know is a big time program. Now you could say SMU, but you know what I mean when I mean big time program. And I know you're probably going to say SEC. I'm not just saying SEC, but they're going to get 2 opportunities to do so for sure in 2025. So big thing he mentioned about Cade Klubnik. He's got all the tools. He's got an offensive line that should be built up to kind of get him to the next level. He's got a running back by committee, maybe even an elite running back that could step up later on in the season. So he should have talent behind him and around him. And then he's got wide receivers galore right now. I mean, this is the best wide receiver group we've had in years that we can trust. And it's not as much hype as it is reality. I mean, we've seen these guys play, and they've played at a high level. Another guy he mentioned that we also kind of talked about yesterday was Braden Jacobs. He's been taking a ton of first-team reps now that Tristan Lee has been hurt, and he says, that he's ready, and the staff trusts Braden Jacobs, and that's crazy to say about a true freshman, really. I know the guy's massive, like 6'7", 310. He is a big dude. Mickey said this morning on the radio show that he saw him at Publix, and the guy, you had to go down another aisle because he's just so big. So these are the kind of guys, even though they don't have a big stat sheet yet and they're true freshmen, it may be hard to keep him off the field. And that's why I have him circled as well. Another guy I want to watch for in the spring. Adam Randall, he mentioned that, he is a big-bodied wide receiver that needs to move over to running back. And a lot of questions there. But I think that ultimately, to me, I hope that works out. Of all the things that I hope work out the most, I kind of do hope that Adam Randall really just catches fire. I mean, he's a South Carolina boy. He's Clemson through and through. He could have transferred out and quit on the team and left and did his own thing many, many months ago. But to me, that he's fought through and he's now switching positions and he's doing whatever he can to help the team win. I know you're going to tell me, well, he's just a depth guy. I don't believe it. I think that he could be a true running back number one with some fire behind him for sure. Now there's a lot of other guys behind him that also have a bunch of potential, but I do like Adam Randall a ton. And then he also mentioned Tom Allen, just his ability to just come in quickly and hold people accountable, hold people to a certain level of physicality, and get back to the fundamentals. Tom Allen's defense is ready to tackle better and to buy into that previous standard, that they kind of lost their way from, which is sad to say, but that is the true state of the defense. It was starting to fall away from the original standard that Dabo had helped build up over the years. So I think these are big time developments. He came on a national television program and talked about this, and you could say that his coach speak or whatever, but I don't think it was a lot of fluff. I do think that he was as honest as he could be about these different positions. And I do think that there is justified hype around, Braden Jacobs and Gideon Davidson and Adam Randall and Cade Klubnik. And, I do think that if these pieces fall into place, and Tom Allen as well, as these pieces fall into place, if they hit, on a few of them, it could take them to the national championship game. I think one that you definitely want to hit on is Cade Klubnik. I think the other one that you definitely want to hit on is either Adam Randall or someone to fill in a true running back position and kind of make that something that defenses have to think about. You don't want to go through the whole season with defenses basically saying they're a patchwork. We don't care about them. Let's just stop the pass, and we dare them to run, right? We don't really want that. That's going to be a long season, I think. This spring feels a lot like springs of the past. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of excitement around the defensive side of the ball. There's a lot of new faces, but there's also guys that are returning, especially on the wide receiver core. It feels like the Clemson of old. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll have to see. They got to prove it to us on the field. But it does feel like Clemson and Dabo has done the right things to get back to what we're used to. I don't think Clemson is rebuilding. I don't really think that they're reloading. I think that they have a very talented roster with a lot of returning guys and a lot of returning talent, and they just, enhance that. So I think this team is enhanced based on last season. They already made it to the playoffs last season, kind of squeaked in a little bit with some help from Syracuse. I don't think that they do that this year. If they get Cade to step up and finally just reach his ultimate level at college football, and Adam Randall to become a weapon for them, and Tom Allen to really settle down the defense, this team will be ready from the beginning, and they won't get punched in the mouth against LSU, and they'll continue it from the beginning of September all the way through the season. So looking forward to that. Very excited about the team coming into this season. If you haven't seen the video, you can go on YouTube and watch the ACC Network's ACC PM with Mark Packer, who's a Clemson grad and big-time Clemson fan, but loves all things with the ACC as well in his current role. But he has an interview with Dabo Swinney, and you can get a little bit of insight from there. All right, We're going to finish up the show talking about the wide receiver group and how they are starting to gel, and some of those stars on the wide receiver, and how they've made a new identity called the Waves of Terror, and what that means for Clemson in 2025. The NCAA tournament is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 in extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. FanDuel's app is simple to use, super easy. When you win, you get paid instantly, no matter what, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. There's not many games left, so get in on it now before it's too late.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Clemson's wide receivers aren't just deep, they are dangerous. I think this is one of the best group of wide receivers that Clemson has had in many seasons. And they've got a ton of talent, and they've got something more important this season as well. They've got purpose. Tyler Brown is finally back to being healthy. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. TJ Moore is just improving and getting sharper. And Bryant Wesco recently came out and said he's adding in some sauce, whatever that may be. I think I know what it is, but maybe I'm getting a little bit too old for this. But as a group, they've got a new motto, the Waves of Terror. I'm going to tell you what that means and why it might be the deepest room Clemson's had in 5 years. See, last year, Clemson's wide receivers were young. Some of them were banged up. They were trying to find some chemistry with Cade Klubnik, and it kind of was slow to begin the season. The spring, though, different story, different vibe. Their leaders are there. The returners are motivated. And now there's a healthy competition across the board from wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 12. I mean, all these guys want in on the action. They don't want to sit on the bench too long. They want to get in there and get their reps and get the football as well. So we're seeing guys like Tyler Brown, who is now fully healthy, step up. TJ Moore becoming a more complete receiver, and Bryant Wesco shifting from just learning the playbook to actually owning the playbook. And you'll hear this phrase from them. They mentioned this to the press recently, waves of terror. And yeah, that's kind of their mentality going into the 2025 season. This is a versatile wide receiver room Clemson has had, a long time. I mean, name one. You can put in the comments or tell me over on X, but name one since like T. Higgins' time. They've got speed, they've got size, they've got experience, and they got what we would say is maybe sauce. Most importantly, they're just leaders out there for sure. Tyler Brown called it a blessing to now be healthy. TJ Moore said he's just really trying to continue to learn inside and out. And Bryant Wesco, he wants to play fast, but he wants to play with some flair, right? That sauce, if you will, kind of going back to just having some attitude about him. It's no longer about, do we have a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2? It's about how many waves of elite wide receivers can a defense handle before they tap out. This is big time news for Clemson, because Clemson wide receiver core, wide receiver U, may officially be back in 2025, back and better than ever. Tyler Brown, we missed him a ton. Antonio Williams was injured, and then he came back. And then as he came back, Tyler Brown got injured. And now we're going to have to see Tyler Brown come back and bounce back into this Garrett Riley system, which we really haven't seen. We don't know anything about a Tyler Brown system with Garrett Riley. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. He's another guy that I want to circle and see how he does in the fall. TJ Moore becoming a little more technical. He has that raw talent. He was able to go beat up on guys in one-on-one, but he wants to be able to sharpen the little details, fix those things that he just couldn't hone in as a freshman, learning some slot position duties, some outside wide receiver duties, and praising the other guys around him for just trying to push him to be better. He even said, Tristan Smith has come in and kind of fused in some more veteran leadership because he's a guy who's been a lot of different places. He's transferring in, trying to prove himself as well. And they're all trying to make each other better in 2025. Cade Klubnik trusts Tyler Brown. We already know that. He trusts Antonio Williams. They're going to continue to build trust in TJ Moore and Tristan Smith as well. Cade is also, TJ also mentioned that Cade is not a finger pointing type of leader. He's definitely a guy that'll pull you aside, coach you up, and tell you to get it right next time and work through some of the growing pains that you may have. And these are the kind of things that I like to see because you don't want, a sophomore slump, if you will, for your wide receiver core. Got a lot of sophomores right now, so you don't want to slump on these big time stars that they have. And Bryant Wesco, finally, he's ready. To me, he said he's ready to be a star, right? He said to the press recently that he wants to get that sauce, adding the sauce to his skills or his ability. Last year, learning the playbook, just being that freshman sponge. Now he definitely knows the plays. There's no excuse to be running the wrong route, as we saw early in the season. There's no excuse to be in the wrong position. He needs to be able to take what he knows and build on to the next level. And for him, it's adding his own flavor, his own style, playing fast, playing confident. To me, it kind of gives me some vibes of like just a hint, right? Just a hint of like a Deion Sanders-ish. You got to have a little bit of old school guys like myself would probably say swagger, but I feel like swagger's overused. So he said sauce, but just a little bit of confidence, a little cockiness. You want to feel like you are the best player on the field, and there's no one that can stop you. Over the past couple of years, what have I said on radio many times and on YouTube and social media? I've said too often we felt like Clemson's wide receivers and Clemson's offense as a whole has been, well, we're just going to take what the defense gives us. And I understand that there is an aspect of that is a smart thing to do. Just find out what the defense is doing quickly and take what they give you. But there is also a little bit of that, extra umph, that killer instinct that you want to be able to go out and say, like the past Clemson offenses have been able to say, which is, we're not just going to take what the defense gives us. No way. We're going to go out there and we're going to do our thing. We're going to beat you one-on-one. We're going to beat your zone. And you're not going to be able to stop us. So try and stop us mentality is what I call it. Instead of the, we'll just take what you give us mentality. No, we're going to run our plays. We're going to be more talented than you. We're going to line up regardless of what you do in some situations, right? But we're going to beat you no matter if you call the perfect play or perfect scheme or not. Make no mistake. I like where Bryant Wesco is going with this. He could end up being a big time, flashy, national type star because he has that mentality. He doesn't want to be a forgotten guy. He wants his name in the headline for the right reasons, right? For his hard work, for his development, for his ability to understand and grow now from just learning the playbook to becoming the star for Clemson. So have you seen an offense that has as many stacked wide receivers as this? It'd be kind of hard for me to remember one in the past 5 years or so. Some folks are going to say, well, Morgan, here you go, hyping me up. I'm ready for football now. It's not even in September. It's the wrong S. It's spring, not September. But here's the truth. This kind of mentality, this kind of attitude, this kind of leadership and cohesiveness that you're hearing from all three top wide receivers, those kind of phrases like building a culture of waves of terror, when you hear that from these guys, that's when you know that it's not just hype. They are making it part of their culture. They're making it part of their expectations and the competition that they're having between each other and the battles that they're having in spring against each other and against the Clemson defense. They are growing and they're expanding their roles, no longer just learning things as a freshman. They are becoming even more lethal on the offensive side of the ball. Really, it's more than just being a flashy receiver. It's about development as well, because this is going to trickle down and grow into the other wide receivers around. And I think it's going to make the whole group more mature, have a better work ethic, and just really get out of, some of the slumps that we've seen in the past from the Clemson wide receiver group. Not so much last season, but I think it's just going to help them take the next step. And they have no excuses. They have a quarterback that is finally ready at the end of his career here at Clemson to finally just kind of make a name for himself and become, as Deshaun Watson would say, legendary. Now you have an offensive coordinator that's in year 3, Garrett Riley. It's not something new, not something you have to figure out. This should be the full version of what we were expecting from Garrett Riley. So the bottom line for me is, this could be wide receiver U, the beginning of wide receiver U, the remix, if you will, the repeat. And it's not just about one guy. Even though Bryant Wesco came out and said, hey, I want to show that I have the sauce. I want to show that I'm a star. I want to put my little, stamp of personality on playmaking, which I love. But they're going to be waves of terror. And just think about that. You know how waves crashing on a beach, just over and over. You get those rough ones out there, and you want to come inside. You want to get on the land as quick as possible because they just beat you up. How many times have you gone out there with your kids or your friends and the waves just knock you around, right? One after another, after another, after another. If you see that, it's not just Frisbee catching dogs. That's going to be some demoralizing. You always talk about demoralizing you by just gashing you with big runs. Possibly we could see big time defenses get shut down because of how great the wide receivers are and just they can't stop. They can't get a breather because the next guy is just as good or maybe even better in their own right. So this big time wide receiver group is coming and I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to seeing some of them on this Saturday on the spring game. Hey, let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button over on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much again for the support as we start my 3rd month here with Locked On Clemson in April. Don't forget to follow me for in-between episodes discussion at The Morgan T Show. And tomorrow we're going to break down more Clemson spring game and get you ready for the weekend here on our Friday episode. So thank you so much. And before you go, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. For your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. We're here. We're in the Final Four is here, and you want to be the most informed college basketball fan as we finish out the madness here. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, I'll see you on Friday tomorrow, and I'll see you at the top of the hill.